Good afternoon and welcome back, and people are still transitioning in, and that's sort of my job, is to fill the time here as we transition from one session to the other. So we'll continue to welcome people into the room. So again, welcome back. I hope that everyone enjoyed the earlier afternoon session that was led by USAID and CGIAR. If you missed any of those sessions, those great discussions that USAID and CGIAR had, you can watch them again through the virtual conference platform, so I'd encourage you to do so. They're always entertaining. And I might mention that clearly USAID and CGIAR are wonderful partners and have been wonderful partners to the World Food Prize over the years. My name is Paul Schickler. I'm board chair of the World Food Prize Foundation. I'm pleased to introduce the next panel with the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, or IICA. IICA and the World Food Prize Foundation have recently embarked on a multi-year partnership to promote solutions for agriculture and food security. And I couldn't be more excited for the great things that we are achieving as we work together. IICA was founded 80 years ago in 1942 by the visionary and son of Iowa, Henry A. Wallace, the former Secretary of Agriculture and Vice President of the United States. And I might mention I worked 42 years with Pioneer Hybrid International, now Corteva Agrisciences, and Pioneer Hybrid International was founded by Henry A. Wallace in 1926, so it was certainly an honor to work for that organization that he founded. Today, IICA helps strengthen agriculture sectors in 34 countries in the Western Hemisphere with a focus on key measures such as technology and innovation, food safety, rural development, and natural resource management. This afternoon's panel will provide insight into a critical area that we do face today, the scarcity of water. Please join me in welcoming to the stage, first, the Honorable Zulfikar Mustapha, the Minister of Agriculture of Guyana, Dr. Manuel Otero, Director General of IICA, Dr. Christopher Neale, Director of Research at the Daugherty Water for Food Institute, University of Nebraska, Fernando Schwanke, Director of Projects at IICA, and Dr. Margaret Zeigler, IICA's U.S. representative. Please welcome them to the stage. And now Margaret will provide further introductions. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Paul. It's a delight to be back here after a couple of years away, and it's so wonderful to see so many young people here. I see every year this wonderful gathering growing in size and quality, and particularly in the numbers of youth, which is wonderful. I should mention briefly that one of our new partnerships between the World Food Prize Foundation and IICA is that we are hosting Borlaug Ruan interns. So we're very happy to have you as part of our 34-member state presence in the Western Hemisphere. From multi-year droughts in the breadbaskets of the United States and Argentina and Paraguay and Uruguay, to melting of the glaciers in the Andes, to the flooding that we've seen recently in Pakistan, to drought stretching across the Horn of Africa, and even drought here in the Midwest, stopping the flow of the water in the Mississippi so that the food and crops we grow can't even be exported. We are facing critical water challenges, and that's what our panel is going to explore today. Without water, there is no food security. With us today, we have several guests on the stage that I'll introduce, and then we are going to have an opening greeting and short video from President of IFAD to frame the issue, but I'll first introduce our panelists that are here with us on the stage. Mr. Fernando Schwanke, seated here, is our Director of Projects at IICA. He is now responsible for directing and supporting IICA's 34 delegations across the Americas and our cooperation units in technical cooperation to design and implement projects for food security and agriculture development. Fernando previously served as the National Secretary of Family Farm and Cooperativism of the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, and Food Supply of Brazil. In this position, he worked on programs for family farming, rural cooperatives, and the bioeconomy and infrastructure. After he speaks, we will hear from Dr. Christopher Neale, who is the Director of Research at the Daugherty Water for Food Institute at the University of Nebraska. His research interest lies in developing remote sensing applications for irrigated agriculture, hydrology, and natural resource monitoring. Chris joined the University of Nebraska in 2013, where he oversees the Water for Food Institute's research efforts and engaging faculty in new projects and partnerships with organizations and universities worldwide. He has an extensive background in water research and management projects across the west of the United States, Africa, South America, and the Caribbean. And finally, we are very delighted to have with us the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Zulfikar Mustapha. He has come back for a second year. He loved it so much last year that he's come back to learn more and to share more about what's happening in his wonderful country, the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. He began his career in agriculture representing farmers in the Guyana Agriculture and General Workers Union, and later became a member of Parliament. In 2020, he was officially appointed as the Minister of Agriculture of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. And since then, he has been working hard to strengthen the resilience and sustainability of the agri-food systems of Guyana. A major focus of his has been improving drainage and irrigation capacity for more efficient and effective flood control. He has also created some very innovative and interesting programs to incentivize young people to become agricultural entrepreneurs and farmers, so we'll hear more about that. Finally, I'm going to turn to a video address that we have, and just to say a few words about Dr. Alvaro Lario. He is the president of the International Fund for Agricultural Development, or IFAD. He's got more than 20 years of experience, including at the World Bank Group and the United Nations. Under his stewardship, IFAD became the first UN fund to enter the capital markets and to expand resource mobilization with the private sector to directly support their central mission, alleviating rural poverty with a strong focus on smallholder farmers. Please share with us now the video address from President of IFAD, Alvaro Lario.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege to be part of this discussion on the important topic of water and food security. I would like to thank Dr. Manuel Otero, Director General of IICA, for inviting me to do so, as this is a vital topic for the International Fund for Agricultural Development, as well as a core area of our investment portfolio. That water is the essential basis of life needs no demonstration. It is probably no surprise either that 70% of the world's fresh water is used to grow food. Truly, without water, there is no food security. Hence, the fact that over 60% of the global population faces water insecurity should be cause for concern. Scaling up support for sustainable management of water resources is key to food systems transformation and for the future of food security. IFAD invests in rural areas where poverty is concentrated and where agriculture is the principal foundation of livelihoods, both on farm and off the farm. These are some of the most remote and under-resourced communities in the world. Small-scale producers, women, youth, indigenous peoples, and other vulnerable groups are disproportionately affected by desertification, land degradation, and droughts. Yet, rain-fed farming systems operated largely by small-scale farmers produce more than 60% of the world's food. This is why it is critical to invest in water infrastructure and technology for small-scale irrigation systems, post-harvesting handling and processing, and domestic water supply. By working closely with governments, rural communities, traders, retailers, and other actors throughout the food value chain, IFAD is supporting improved management and distribution of water to improve both food security and livelihoods for rural people. In Honduras, an IFAD-supported project is building small-scale hydraulic infrastructure such as reservoirs, catchments, rainwater evacuation, and distribution systems. It is also restoring natural infrastructure areas critical to water recharge, gallery forests, and habitats that are essential to biodiversity. This to strengthen both the water security as well as the climate resilience. In Brazil, the Economic Inclusion Program for Families and Rural Communities has promoted adaptation to climate shocks across widely varying conditions, from high plateau to lowland areas. This is done through a spectrum of interventions, including building micro-irrigation schemes to ensure sufficient water supplies, greenhouses to protect crops against drought and frost, and promoting the use of biogas digesters to reduce the reliance on firewood collection in surrounding forests. This holistic approach has proven results. Participants' incomes rose by 13% and productive asset accumulation by 25%. Participants were more likely to sell crops in the market and also more able to recover from climatic and non-climatic shocks. Ladies and gentlemen, this example showed that we can and we should work together in partnership to protect water resources, ensure equitable access, and build resilience and water and food security of the most vulnerable rural populations. Water is at the nexus of food, energy, climate change adaptation, and the sustainability, productivity, and resilience of food systems. Ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to continuing working together, recognizing that our pursuit of water-resilient, food-secure, and inclusive and prosperous societies is the cornerstone of our missions. Thank you very much.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. It's a big pleasure to stay here. First of all, I would like to thank the World Prize and the Borlaug Dialogue for inviting our institute, Inter-American Institute for Cooperation in Agriculture, to speak on this panel about the very important topic for our humanity. This year, at the request of several of IICA's member countries, we have been thinking a lot about how agriculture could contribute to the water crisis that is currently taking place. And we have come to some important conclusions in which I would like to present to you now. But first, I would like to congratulate the IFAD president on his very lucid and realistic statement. We need everyone to tackle the water crisis, especially from our institutions. Okay, let's go. Water and agriculture. The role of agriculture is tackling the water crisis. My name is Fernando Schwanke. I'm a forestry engineer, and now I'm the head of projects from IICA in Costa Rica. And the purpose of the initiative, the Water and Agriculture Initiative, is to consolidate capacities and to promote strategic public and private partnerships. In IICA member countries, we have 34 member countries in Americas and in the Caribbean region. to improve the integrated management and efficient use of water in agriculture, in support of ministries of agriculture and water governance institutions. That is not new for us, for IICA. In the last 10 years, we have more than 70 technical cooperation actions in water use in agriculture. But through the initiative, the plan is to have an umbrella, and under this umbrella we have a lot of actions with our members countries to work in this direction, to water in agriculture. And why is it important? Margaret told us, without water, there is no agriculture. And without agriculture, there is no food security. Because that when we talk about food security, we need to talk about water security, because that is a very, very close link in the two issues. In Latin America and Caribbean, currently accounts for 14% of world production and 23% of the food world exports on basic agricultural and fishery products. That is very, very important for the food security in the whole world. And that is also important, joint hemispheric action to improve the integrated management and efficient use of water in agriculture is a matter of urgency. The extent of the agricultural water crisis in the Americas. The countries of the Americas are essential for global agri-food systems and food security. However, they are subject to intense droughts and severe desertification, which even limits the water available for human consumption. For the third consecutive year, Argentina, Brazil, my country, Paraguay, and Uruguay have been experiencing their most severe drought since 1944, which has been partially attributed to La Niña phenomenon that has persisted since 2020. And the estimated drought-related losses in these four countries amount more than $30 billion. And that is a huge loss for our countries. Because that, in addition to producing food, agriculture must become a major water producer, strong it and using it efficiently by harnessing innovative technology. Here come the innovation, the technologies that the Professor Christopher would talk to us after my presentation. Agriculture should be part of the solution to the water crisis, and that is our responsibility. I say, from the farmers, from the government, and from all institutions. We built our initiative in 4 pillars. The first pillar is production and water storage, to strengthen countries' capacities to design and implement plans, programs, and projects that focus on the production and water storage in agriculture, and that is possible. The second pillar is efficient water use, to improve water use efficiency in agriculture through technological innovation. As you know, agriculture uses 70% from all the sweet water around the world, because that is so important to use the water with more efficiency that we can. The third pillar is the governance, and that is not easy to work in the countries, but is very necessary in urgency. The strengthened mechanisms, tools, and capacities of ministries and governance institutions with respect to water governance in agriculture. And the fourth pillar is investment, to improve planning, resource allocation, and public-private pre-investment and investment funding in the countries. What I talk in the practice, some examples. Look, the first picture in 2001 and the second picture in 2019. Brazilian Cooperative plants over 2 million trees to restore a destroyed forest and 2,000 water springs. That is a very good example to produce water, to restore forests, to restore biodiversity, to restore fauna and flora. And that is possible. That is not quick, but here we have a very good example that we can do that. In 18 years, this couple, this a very famous photographer in Brazil, restored more than 500 hectares from forests. And we need to restore in America, in Latin America, and in Caribbean, 20 million hectares forests. The second example that I can give you is about recovering degraded soils to increase natural water storage in soils. We have a number that with 1% more organic matter in the soil, we have plus 160,000 liters of stored water per hectare. And we need to restore in Latin America and Caribbean 270,000 million hectares in our continent. We need to improve water efficiency in agriculture through technological innovation, and that is possible. I talk about that. And what are our challenges? Making water in agriculture part of countries' public policies. Normally, this issue is not in the ministries of agriculture, that is in other ministries, and sometimes the Ministry of Agriculture don't participate in the decision about water plans and water planning in the countries. And that is a very important issue to work. Recover 270 million hectares of soil in Latin America and Caribbean. In IICA have an important project with the Ohio University that calls Living Soils of America in this direction. Restore 20 million hectares of forests and woodlands in Latin America and Caribbean. And that is a big challenge. Improve water efficiency by at least 15%. We launched in the last minister meeting in our headquarters in Costa Rica a website and initiative. And we have in our site a knowledge hub in this direction, water and agriculture.iica.int, where we have a technology atlas. We have there more than 70 innovations, and that is open to put more technologies in this atlas. We have publications about water and agriculture. We have public policies from our member countries. Information services, more than 240,000 titles about water and agriculture that you can have the informations for free, and our online training course. We have very important partners because alone we can go ahead, and because that we have IDB, CAF, and World Bank, the important multilateral banks as a partner. ECLAC, this economic organization from the United Nations, and the University of Nebraska, the Water for Food Global Institute, that for us is very important to offer and help the countries to build technological solutions for these important issues that is water. Thank you. That was exactly in the time, 10 minutes.
Thank you, Fernando, and thank you for the organizers in IICA for inviting us to participate in this panel. I serve as the Director of Research at the Daugherty Water Food Global Institute, and I'm going to briefly describe our institute, discuss the situation of the Ogallala High Plains Aquifer and the water governance that occurs in Nebraska as an example of governance for towards high productivity agriculture and some of the technologies involved. Our institute was formed 2010 by a generous donation from the Robert B. Daugherty Foundation with a mission of water and food security and conducting scientific and policy research towards growing more food with less pressure on the water resources. We have more than 120 faculty among the university campuses and global fellows, and we partner with other universities, industry, and NGOs, development banks, and government agencies to further our mission and expand our breadth. Nebraska sits in a transition zone between the semi-arid west and the continental rain-fed east, like here in Iowa. So in that gradient, if you're going to grow corn and soybeans, you need different amounts of irrigation to supplement the rainfall and have an economic viable crop. That red area in the map that you see, the soils map, is the sandhills where the buffalo used to roam. That is shortgrass prairie and is a major recharge zone for the High Plains Ogallala Aquifer. As you can see in this map, Nebraska is blessed with the deepest part of the aquifer, in addition to having 1/3 of the state as a recharge zone. We have 3.4 million hectares of irrigated agriculture, more than any other state in the U.S. and equivalent to many countries in the world. And despite this intensive irrigation pumping from the aquifer, the irrigation application is dropping over time due to better management and better technology. Here's an idea of the well distribution, and notice that in the bar chart that in 1970 there was an explosion of wells with the introduction of the center pivot irrigation system and its automation and advantages that it offered over surface irrigation. That led to pressures on the aquifer, as you can imagine, and if you look at this map from pre-development to the spring of '81, you can see that in several parts of the state, the aquifer had gone down 10 to 15 meters. If we look at the map from pre-development to 2021, you'll see that the aquifer recovered in many portions of the state. And we still have a little problem, an issue in the Republican River Basin and in the northwest section of the state there that you see. If you look at the whole High Plains aquifer as a whole and look at the saturated thickness, that's the amount of water that the aquifer holds, you'll see that in Oklahoma, the panhandle of Texas, the east and western Kansas, some places they've pumped more than 50% of that saturated thickness, and they're pumping more than the recharge, so it's not a sustainable situation. And Nebraska is fairly stable, and I don't know if you have seen the articles that were recently published in the New York Times about groundwater in the U.S. and the decline. In their first article, unfortunately, they failed to talk about Nebraska and its success governing groundwater, which has got a lot to do with the hydrology that I mentioned, but also the governance. Nebraska natural resource district system that was introduced by the legislature 40 years ago gives local control to manage the groundwater. So the districts follow more or less the watersheds, and the board of directors of those districts are elected by the voters of that district, typically are farmers, people in the agriculture, they understand. And notice that in western Nebraska, the semi-arid part of the state, there's the pink areas are areas where there's a moratorium, no more well permits. And the cross-hatched areas are areas where there's allocation programs. For example, in the Upper Republican Natural Resource District, farmers can only pump 300 millimeters or 12 inches a year, or 1,500 millimeters over 5 years, right? And every well has a flow meter. Some of them are telemetrically connected to the NRD that controls whether the farmer is doing what they're supposed to do and following the rules. But the farmers have learned to manage water depending on the winter, right? If it's a wet winter, they can fill up the tank and supplement it with irrigation and grow corn. If it's a dry, they grow a short season crop like beans. Not everything is rosy. This intense agriculture has led to nitrate contamination of the aquifer in different parts of the state, and in some areas it's above 10 milligrams per liter, which is what the EPA determines as the safe amount for drinking. Below that. And so the university is working on solutions through research and extension, like fertigation, using the pivot to apply fertilizer at different times and providing what the plant needs at the right time, using sensing from remote sensing from airborne drones or from sensors on the tractor to determine what the prescription is, or dashboards where farmers can upload their water use, fertilizer use, yield, and compare their situation to the farmers in the region. And if they're in the orange and the red, they can talk to the extension and see how they can go to the green. Okay. Oops. So we also work on irrigation scheduling using our SETME hybrid ET model. That's a water and energy balance model that keeps track of the water in the root zone of the crop using satellite, thermal, and multispectral imagery. And we've used it to program the irrigation for many pivots, and also variable rate irrigation equipped center pivots where the pivot is can apply different amounts of water in the field according to the texture and the relief of the field or the infiltration rate, and just supply the water that the plants are needed. And we're using, in this example, drone imagery, multispectral and thermal imagery at really high resolution. Another product is our AlexiVerse ET model, which partners with Martha Anderson, USDA, Chris Hain at NASA, who developed the model, and we're using the Alexi satellite, and we're running this on the supercomputer. We had funding from USAID to use it in North Africa and the Middle East to monitor drought, right? So early warning of drought, the first thing that goes down when you have an onset of drought is the evapotranspiration by the plants, and we can pick that up with this technology. Get daily ET, sum the daily ET over the whole year, over the region, and this is a product that could be used for water balance in watersheds or estimating the recharge of aquifers. And we can also downscale it at higher resolution using Landsat imagery to get daily ET at 30 meters and use that for scheduling and water balance. Our goal is to run the model in the major food-producing areas of the world as funding becomes available naturally. So final comments, we need to change the paradigm of production, which has been to produce maximum yield, to producing for maximum water, energy, and productivity and economic gain, which doesn't necessarily mean maximum yield. Okay? Prepare agriculture for the future climate extremes, floods and droughts, and the carbon markets. Develop technology and approaches that could support smallholder farmers, right, everywhere in the world. And then allow for local water governance that really can help manage water better. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Unlike Fernando and Dr. Christopher, I will take this discussion to in a different perspective. Now, we have seen what has happened around the world. We heard from IFAD president and the two other speakers here on stage what the situation in the world. 60% of the world's population is having problem to get fresh water, while there are abundant of water in various other parts of the world. But as the world increase production, and as the world's population increase over time, there will be more need for fresh water. And this will cause a serious problem for us in the world. I think this gathering here is very important, and whatever is discussed and the best practices that is discussed and that are recommended, we should take it and share it around the world so that we can share the best practices. Because as we are speaking here today, we are discovering and raising all the critical issues concerning water in agriculture and agriculture for food production. But at the same time, we have to bring solution, how we can arrest the situation, how we can deal with the situation so that we can have equal production around the world, whilst some part of the world is producing freely, enjoying freshwater resources, which is important for food production. Other parts in the world we are seeing drought, and those situations is leading to hunger, is leading to poverty. And we here today, I want to commend the organizer for organizing forum like this. But we must not wait annually. This must be a regular feature so that we can put our heads together and come up with solutions so that we can reduce poverty and hunger around the world. In Guyana, we have been enjoying fresh water in abundance. As a matter of fact, Guyana really means the land of many waters. And we have abundant of fresh water. Guyana has, over the years, we have seen production level increase because, as I said, we have had policies in place, and we heard just now from Dr. Christopher some of the recommendations we should implement to reduce, so to speak, reduce the drought-like condition. And we must also give responsibilities to the other section of the population, because around the world today, we are seeing these resources, especially water, is being controlled by a few groups, while the vast majority of smallholding farmers are in dire need of fresh water. Because of that, we have seen production level decrease. In the Caribbean and Latin America, we are producing almost 25% of the world's production. But the water situation in some part of the Americas is in serious problems. So the connection between water and agriculture is undeniable. Adequate, good quality, and reliable water sources are essential for increasing crop, livestock, and fisheries production. We have seen the transformative power of responsible water management in increasing yield, diversifying, and safeguarding crops, advancing sustainable land management, and enhance food production. And I want to say specifically what we have been doing in Guyana. We have initiated several programs aimed at harnessing the potential of water resources. We recognize the significance of water harvesting to combat period of droughts and ensure water availability during dry season. In a region in Guyana, which is inhabited primarily by indigenous people, we have developed and created several water harvesting facilities which caters for the 8 months that that region goes practically without no rain. So what we have been doing, we have been working with the population in the indigenous community of Guyana so that we can empower them. We can create facilities. And here I want to say that the political will of government is important for us to alleviate this problem. And we have shown in Guyana that we have had the political will where we have seen budgetary allocation over a 3 years period increase by 150% just to create that infrastructure so that we can cater for the needs of the farmers, especially smallholding farmers. And governments around the world have to recognize the importance of farmers, because without farmers, without agriculture, there will be no food for us. And for me, I am not here being prejudiced as Minister of Agriculture of Guyana, but I want to say, and you will agree with me, that the most important sector for us is the agriculture sector, because the agriculture sector is responsible for food security for us. The development of efficient irrigation system is at the heart of our program. For instance, recent varieties of rice released by the GRDB and improved water quality monitored by investing in modern water quality laboratory, and Dr. Christopher would have alluded to that. What we have done in Guyana, we have tried to develop new variety of rice that requires less water for growth. And we are working, I have discussed with him only last night, that we will work on a program to see that we implement that not only in Guyana, but across the Caribbean. These systems have not only increased crop productivity, but also provide a lifeline to our rural community, ensuring access to water for agriculture. We have invested in research and innovation to find innovative ways of using water resources. Our scientists and experts are developing drought-resistant crop varieties, improving water use efficiency, and promoting climate-smart agriculture. Improve flood management through investment in large infrastructure across the vulnerable coastal zone to protect crops and livestock during extreme weather and climate events. And here I want to say that we have implemented a very novel idea where in various communities across Guyana, we have formed water users water user communities where farmers have come together and they are controlling how they use water. So we take the responsibility of government controlling the use of water and we give it to the farmers so that they can implement that. That's an idea I think we can replicate across various countries when we want to control and ensure that we sustain agriculture. As we discuss ways to develop more sustainable farming operation, it is imperative that we consider the importance of water harvesting, storage, and use of water. In Guyana, we believe that water management should be at the core of our agriculture policies by enhancing water storage, infrastructure, optimizing the use of available resources, and fostering a culture of responsible water management. We can increase our resilience in the face of changing climate pattern. Moreover, water is not just about agriculture. It is about social equity and economic prosperity. Access to clean and reliable water resources is essential for community development, and it plays a significant role in reducing poverty, improving public health, and enhancing the general quality of life for citizens in various countries. Let us remember that water is a precious resource and a lifeline for our agriculture sector. Without water, there is no food security. The experiences and program in Guyana serve as a testament to the power of proper water in shaping a bright and prosperous future. By working together, sharing knowledge, and promoting responsible water management practices, we can ensure a more food secure, prosperous, and sustainable future for all. Let us rededicate ourselves at this forum that we will ensure that we work with all groups in the world to protect these precious resources so that the world can enjoy these valuable commodities. Thank you very much.
It was excellent. Thank you so much. You can see why I'm so glad he came back this year. We do have to wrap up because our panel is ending. I hope that all of you maybe have a chance to speak to any of these experts who are here with us afterwards. I did want to ask just a very quick response from the minister. He mentioned to me yesterday a little bit about a program. It's a little bit off the topic of water, but I think given the youth in the audience and the people who are entering science and agriculture, you might want to know about what they're doing in Guyana to promote young people going into agriculture. You just say a moment about one of the innovations in terms of policy and opening up land and options for young people to enter farming. I thought this would be interesting for you to hear.
So first of all, thank you very much for the question. And I saw many young people are here. Now, we have a policy in Guyana where any project in the Ministry of Agriculture, we have to have 35% young people or women involved. That's a must. And that's a directive from the president. So all the projects that we are implementing in our country, we have to have 35% women and youth. But what we have seen over the years, and many of the young people who are here can testify to that young people see agriculture as a menial job. They don't see agriculture as an attractive sector. They feel that agriculture is for young, mature age people, people who never went to tertiary institution. And what we have been doing in Guyana, we have been changing that perception because we have many persons who would have went through the tertiary institution and received their degrees, they are agronomists, and they are behind a desk doing clerical job. So what we have done, we came up with an idea that, look, we will make agriculture more attractive. We have formed companies across the country. And these companies, we have make the young people who we have recruited in this company, we have made them shareholders. So they have been doing high value crops, things like broccoli, cauliflower, carrots, bell pepper, and you name it. And we have looked at the importation because in CARICOM, the Caribbean community, we have 20 countries. We said that we have to reduce the food import bill by 25% in 2025. And if we have to do that, then we have to grow the food that we have been importing and causing these countries a lot of revenue. So for example, these high value crop, Guyana alone, imported in 2021, $2.6 billion in these crops. So what we have done, we have set up shade house across the country. We have formed a company called the Agriculture Innovation Entrepreneurial Program, where hundreds of young people are shareholders. They are now, we have assigned technical people to work with them, plus they are graduates too from the University of Guyana and the Guyana School of Agriculture, and they are now producing these crops. They are producing it in abundance, and they are selling it into the hospitality industry, the oil and gas industry, so they have taken care of that part of the imports coming into Guyana. We are now saving that revenue, and at the same time, young people, the company that they are shareholders in, that company is making money. At the end of the year, the young people are receiving dividend from that company. That's an attractive way to get young people to involve in agriculture. And today, when you go around Guyana, hundreds of young people now have branched off, and they are making a living, who would have graduated from the University of Guyana and the Guyana School of Agriculture, and who 3 years ago was seeing agriculture as a menial job. Today, they are making their living out of agriculture. So we have to come up with novel ideas. We have to have the political will. And I think that that's the way we can sustain agriculture, in bringing in young people into the agriculture sector.
Thank you. Thank you all again. Thank you to the World Food Prize Foundation for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you.